Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I wanted to talk about the role that the royal family played during African chattel slavery. Can I just say, if you are a royal family enthusiast, this is probably not the video for you, because a lot of people don't want to accept that the British monarchy benefited tremendously from the slave trade. A lot of white British people feel comfortable with believing that slavery is an American problem and that Britain played absolutely no role in the slave trade. This video seeks to unveil the role that the British Empire played in the enslavement of African people. So, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge went on a royal tour of the Caribbean, to which they were not welcomed with open arms, and rightfully so. The day before the couple's arrival in Jamaica, 100 Jamaican academics, politicians, and cultural figures signed an open letter demanding that the royal family apologise and pay reparations for colonial rule and slavery. First of all, it would be a cold day in hell before white people even entertain the idea of paying black people the reparations that they owe us. Jamaican politicians in recent years have called for Jamaica to remove the Queen of England as head of state and become a republic, which, good for them. The Black Lives Matter movement triggered the anti-colonial sentiment that has been growing across the Caribbean. So the Duke and Duchess came to Jamaica to give a sorry excuse of a speech that I personally doubt was even written by them, expressing remorse for slavery, and thought that that was going to make up for centuries of pain, misery, rape, and lynchings. That's why many black people are indifferent to the Queen's death, and I'm sure many white people who are listening to this will probably say things like, well, if an apology isn't enough, then what more do you want from us? Reparations. I feel like for the level it's on, reparations is what we're owed at the very least, but for whatever reason, we're still here having to ask for the reparations that should have been given to us a long time ago. The Queen and the royal family have been living comfortably off of the rape of enslaved African women, the lynchings of black men, the self-hatred of black people and colonial rule, and I'm just supposed to feel bad? I don't know about that. During the Atlantic slave trade, the main participants were the British. During the 15th century, John Hawken, who was an English naval commander, started off as a merchant in the African slave trade and then later on became the first English slave trader. He was also the chief architect of the Elizabethan Navy, and I think we also need to acknowledge that Queen Elizabeth I funded for the second transportation of enslaved Africans in the Caribbean. Well, of course, how else do you explain her rotten teeth? She had really bad oral hygiene because of her excessive consumption of sugar. Queen Elizabeth loved sugar, so where do you think the sugar she loved so much came from? In 1660, James II established the Royal African Company, which was responsible for the transportation of 187,000 enslaved Africans to English colonies in the Americas. The triangular trade was responsible for transporting between 10 million and 12 million enslaved Africans across the Atlantic Ocean to the Americas from the 16th to the 19th century. Britain would send manufactured goods to America, and in exchange America would send materials like tobacco and lumber. Europe would send materials like guns, iron and beer to Africa in exchange for gold and ivory. From Africa, enslaved Africans were taken to the West Indies and to North America through the Middle Passage, which was responsible for over 2 million deaths. North America would then send materials like rum and iron to Africa, and fish, flour and lumber to the West Indies. And then of course the West Indies would send sugar to Britain. At first, the enslavement and transportation of enslaved Africans was about money. However, the barbaric system led to the emergence of racist beliefs that then led to the justification of slavery. So, the curse of Ham was a biblical teaching that was used by the Europeans to rationalize the enslavement of Africans. In the story, Noah gets drunk and falls asleep naked in his tent. His son Ham walks in on his sleeping father and sees his father naked. Ham leaves to tell his two brothers Shem and Japheth. yet they respond differently. Instead of gazing upon their father's unclothed body, they quickly grab a blanket and walk backwards into his tent to cover him. When Noah wakes up and discovers what Ham has done, Noah curses Ham's son, Canaan. Noah called for Canaan to serve his other 2 sons like servants. It said, "Cursed be Canaan, the lowest of slaves will he be to his brothers. Praise be to the Lord, the God of Shem. May Canaan be the slave of Shem." Those who were for slavery used verses like this to rationalize slavery, arguing that black people were descendants of Ham. Let us not also forget how the British tried to interfere with anti-colonial movements. So back in the 1950s, the British tried to suppress the Mau Mau movement, which essentially was to fight colonialism, under which the British rounded up thousands of Kenyans into detention camps and subjected them to torture. So you see, the British Empire is an institution that upheld its power through violence. What really grinds my gears is, why is there still a debate going on in terms of whether or not black people should get reparations? The Jews got their reparations, what about us? I don't think we'll be getting our reparations anytime soon. Like, it would have to take Jesus, the Son of God, to come down from heaven and convince me that Europeans will give us our reparations. But until then, no. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening. This honestly was a really brief overview. I would go in more detail, but it's quite late and I'm extremely tired. But if you did like this video, please share it, and don't forget to like, comment and subscribe.